23rd of June, the people of Britain voted to leave the European Union.
The Article 50 process is now underway, and in accordance with the wishes of the British people, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union. This is an historic moment from which there can be no turning back. I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June.
And here is my final forecast conclusion on the basis of the sum of my analysis of the past 6 weeks in the run-up to Theresa May's Brexit snap general election. Usually I would have aimed to have posted my final forecast conclusion at least a month before the day of the election, i.e. for the US presidential election. My forecast conclusion that Trump would win was some 7 weeks before voting day, but that was just not possible this time, as Theresa May, seeing the Tories well ahead in the polls mid-April, decided to ride the Brexit wave into a landslide general election victory. That was about 6 weeks ago, and now the likes of YouGov are forecasting a hung parliament, resulting in a probable Labour SNP unholy alliance. But firstly, here is a quick summary of what my key analysis today has been stating towards the outcome of the UK general election. I started the ball rolling with Theresa May's calling of the snap general election, where at the time the polls were all forecasting a landslide election victory for the Tories, which implied we were heading for a boring election. What's the point of analysing an election when the outcome appears so certain? So it would be a few more good weeks before I started to get really interested into analysis for this election. The next analysis was a recap reminder of just how bad the pollsters had been for virtually every major election for the past 5 years. For instance, a Labour-led coalition was supposed to have won the 2015 general election, as the polling industry amounts to nothing more than a propaganda tool for vested interests who commission the polls. Then we had the local election results of 4th of May and what they were forecasting for the outcome of the UK general election, which gave the first warning signs that the pollster expectations for a landslide election victory were wrong, as the local election results translated into a 60-seat Tory majority and not the 100 to 140 that many forecasting at that time. My article on the Brexit factor, a hidden from pollsters election swing in favour of Brexit, was unlikely to materialise in this Brexit election, as the voters questioned by the mainstream media appeared eager to state that they would be voting for Theresa May because of Brexit. And my article on Theresa May's position in the political spectrum concluded would hoover up many Labour and most UKIP voters, and thus she was heading for a strong election victory. Whilst my next analysis warned that a strong election showing could result in a decapitation of Labour's brightest and rising stars, leaving behind mostly old dinosaurs, which could knock the Labour Party out for another decade. Next analysis, I took a look at what some of the popular polls-based pollsters that the mainstream press were obsessing over were forecasting for the number of seats per party at that time. The average of the forecast was for the Tories to achieve 381 seats against Labour on 187 seats, which was a landslide majority of 112 seats. Then we had YouGov with their shock poll warning of the Tories losing 20 seats falling to 310, which at that time I warned was total BS, purely aimed at creating an interest in their junk polls, and warned at this rate by June 7th YouGov could even be giving Labour the lead, whilst their latest forecast has the Tories on 308 seats. What the betting markets were forecasting was next, which, given the various bets available, coalesced around forecasting probable ranges of outcomes for the Tories on 355 to 375 seats and Labour on 190 to 210 seats. And then less than 24 hours ago, we we had the barbaric London Bridge terror attack, which was not even 10 days on from the horrific Manchester bombing, where I concluded that it could boost the Tories as the party of law and order by about 5 seats. And last but not least is what UK house prices forecast for the 2017 general election, given that UK house prices were by far the most accurate predictor for the 2015 general election, with the final house prices data ahead of election forecasting the Conservatives would win on a single digit seats majority of about 328 when the actual result was 330, not counting the Speaker's seat. For this election, UK house prices momentum analysis concluded in a forecast of 342 seats for the Tories, which once more is significantly different to what the pollsters and bookies are expecting. And so here is my UK general election 2017 final forecast conclusion on the basis of the sum of my analysis of the past 6 weeks. My forecast is for the Conservatives to win the election with a 66 seat majority by increasing their seats total from 331 to 358. I expect Labour to drop 20 seats to 212, and with the Lib Dems gaining 4 to 12. And I expect the Scottish Nationalists to lose 10 seats by dropping from 56 to 46. And if this forecast proves inaccurate, then what could be the next most probable outcome? Well, whilst I've been creating this video, I've had the scene from Game of Thrones end of season 6 playing in my mind. The one where Cersei Lannister is preparing to attend a trial in the Sept of Baelor. When she does not turn up, it slowly starts to dawn on the likes of Queen Marjorie that something is very seriously wrong. As Cersei Lannister has plotted to incinerate all of her enemies by blowing up the Sept of Baelor with dragonfire. Theresa May is Cersei Lannister, so I would not be surprised if she really does blow up the Labour SNP coalition hopes by winning a landslide election victory, i.e. over 100 seats majority. Anyway, we won't have to wait much longer for the actual result, and do subscribe for my next video in which I will take a look at the betting markets to see if there are any opportunities out there as we count down to the results.